Good morning, good morning. We gotta rename our theme. This is this morning's theme. Good morning, good morning. I gotta get that music down. We have our theme written. We have everything up and running. The lights are perfect. The backup videos for everything is all set for the morning. Welcome to the morning poetry studio, formerly known as the Morning Word Show. Good morning, great morning, says Boom Muffin. I've still a bit of sleep in my eyes. That's all of us, really. Frankly, I think I walk around a bit like that sometimes, with the sleep left in my eyes. Really cool to see you in the stream, Boom Muffin. Really appreciate you stopping by. Boom Muffin, another fantastic username. We've been making it a tradition around here to really riff off of people's usernames and write some really ridiculous poetry off of people's usernames. So this morning's theme is happiness, as you can see when I put it in. The theme is always kind of a loose tie-in. It's a good place to kind of revolve conversation if anybody wants to conversate. We're here. But today we're going to start, as usual, with a poetry reading. This time I'm actually not going to be the one reading it, but the actual poet himself will be reading it over a YouTube video. So we have a featured poet every week to start the show out, so it's always kind of a bit of profiling someone else's poetry, highlighting what they're doing, really celebrating their work. And we've been celebrating the Poetry Busker, who is a busking street poet in South Bank and London, England. An amazing writer. He wrote this poem that we're going to be featuring now on a video about the pandemic and making connections. But as an example of what he does, he did something very similar to what I do. He busts the poem live on a video. So what we're going to do is we're going to switch over to YouTube, and if you're cool with sticking around doing that, and we'll watch him as he writes with a much older typewriter than mine, a Remington Home Portable from the late 20s probably, a poem about connections and being connected to people in the middle of a pandemic. So let me do the little technological thing to be able to bring it forward. And Control 4 should do that, right? And we are there. Okay, great. So we just had a bit of a moment for a delay. And now we will play the video. So you're going to get to see him busking out this poem. Now his style in terms of both busking and poetry, a lot more classic. We can see there the pipe sitting next to him on the desk. I think that the way that he set up this camera is a beautiful just arrangement. And you can't really see it, but on the right side, that home portable typewriter. So we will listen as this machine kind of works on this poem. I'm always fascinated by the different sounds that each typewriter brings. And this one is a soft, gentle clicking, as opposed to a lot of the more clunking that my machines do. In the poem, when you hear it, you will hear him use a device that I actually like to use a lot, which is a device, at least the way I would term this device, he might frame it differently, is a device of drama. The poem will start off definitely on a sadder, more despairing note, but will uplift, is kind of the key turn of this piece. And a lot of times I find myself building a crisis in my poetry, in a particular poem. Someone might have had a loss in their life, someone might have had a breakup or something like that, and I will dwell on the difficulty before moving into kind of the heroic turn, that moment when you overcome that type of drama, as opposed to rushing right in and saying, oh, what you're dealing with is not a big deal, it's not a huge issue or something like that. And here the pandemic is kind of going to take center on that. A split of stanzas marking a change. The heavy imagery of islands that's going to be present in this poem is also a very British thing as well. I think it was very apropos. This was done for a book festival, the Islay Book Festival. I don't know that much about the book festival. What I do know is that it is based more where he's at.
Connections. All of us are islands now, drifting in seas of antiseptic uncertainty. The paths we used to know, the high road, the low road, the whale road, all are lost to us, it seems. And we must tidy our beaches, search for winkles and urchins, what the deeps offer our hunger, and not venture on the black, black tide. But no, we are not islands, none of us is. All our islands are connected to one main, not only by cables, sea routes, satellites, but by our communality, by being humans capable of love.
None of us are islands. I love that image. Let me get the video turned off. There we go. So, yeah, none of us are indeed islands. Sorry about that. My phone started ringing in the middle of the thing. So, indeed, that poem is one of my favorites by his, especially because but know that change. Is such a, frankly, I use it I just use it to be able to really be able to turn on a dime and take the truth of a rough situation and be able to turn it into something that is a beautiful situation. So that is something that is just amazing. So yeah, so let's bring back our music from a hear the dawn. So we have background music we play on the stream. It is, let me get, there we go. It's basically good background writing music. Now, if Boom Muffin, if you're still in the house, I'm going to write a poem about a boom muffin because I think that would just be great. Yep, I see you there. So let's write some poetry. So we have a tradition here on the morning poetry studio show about being able to write poetry based off of people's usernames. I think it is one of the coolest and funniest things to be able to do. I hope everybody was able to hear the video well. I didn't see anything in terms of chat, in terms of people not being able to hear it, but technology, running a stream is a lot of buttons at once, especially when you don't have like tools and stuff like that. Good morning! Good morning, David. So good to see you. Last night we had a great conversation, David and I and a bunch of the other local writers to Winchester, Virginia, which was really incredible. So we were able to, my apologies. We were able to just have a great conversation. So that is, so the video and the poet we just celebrated, Cornell Kosuth, is at Poetry Busker on Instagram. That's his username on Instagram. Yeah, and so we had an amazing gathering of poets, writers, artists, creatives, all from the Winchester area, all celebrating the local art that we've been creating. And yeah, so if you go to his Instagram at Poetry Busker, I probably should put up somewhere like a nice big sign or like a logo flash. I have to be able to figure out how to do buttons. Like if I click the G key, does it bring up a nice big GIF of something, or can I program in shout outs for our poets? But all those are technical things and incremental improvements that take time. So yeah, so we have in our chat in our midst a boom muffin, so let's write a little bit about a boom muffin. I really love the idea of just writing about usernames, celebrating those usernames. Oh. And usually on the more humorous tone. Oh, goodness. Thank you so much for stopping in. Twitcher Alex, really appreciate you being here, stopping in, stopping out. You've got a busy morning, I'm sure, ahead of you. I'm sorry that they yeeted last night's stream off of YouTube, so we'll need to. I need to finish listening to that one. That one was really hopping when I left. I've been trying something new, but thank you again for coming into the stream. I'm trying something new, not to push the extremes of what I've been doing, but I realized that the best time for me to edit is really early in the morning, way before I even begin my routines and everything. So I've been going to bed earlier, which means I don't get to see as much of the evening Akira streams, but I wake up earlier, around 5. It's something I just started trying this morning, and I do editing in just kind of the wee hours of the morning. And it worked out this morning. I was able to work on editing a horror poem, which I'm going to be profiling either later this week or early next week. Well, it's already later this week. Is it already Friday? It's Friday. Wow, I did a horrible misspell. Horrible. That is just atrocious. I can't delete it. It's there. It's going to be staring at me for the rest of my life. But I have to stick with it. Or maybe I didn't. I gotta figure out if this is a misspell. You remember when, like, coursing... There we go. Courses. So it's a U. I forgot how to spell... So I spelled course earlier. Whoa! That's huge. We had, I'm just getting back to my chat now as I just struggled with the misspelling. Tim Pool shouted out Akira and Meaning Wave, which is the music that you guys are listening to now, on his stream to 45,000 viewers. Well, that's pretty big. That's really big. I think you guys all like jumped into one of the Tim Pool streams after one of the other meeting streams. So I think it's pretty cool that is kind of bouncing back and forth. That's really cool. That's big news. So for the writer friends that might be tuning in, there's the DJ that does this work. I listen to his live streams a lot of the time, and this music is actually instrumentals to motivational, encouraging songs that I can only describe as Meaning Wave. And so, yeah, I forgot the multiple spellings of coursing and course. So I wrote about hard course cereal brand, and then I wrote about coursing through the veins, which is a different course. So instead it's just like big black blobs because I mixed up my A's and U's. The word macabre broke me at a certain point. Wow, that's really cool. A super chat about Akira the Dawn to Tim Pool. That's spreading that word. I will definitely check out the Tim's cast. This poem's gone off the rails, but I'm gonna figure it out. There you go. Thank you very much. I'm trying to figure out who that is. KLC. Oh, that's Kelly Crowley. It's good to see you, Kelly. I was trying to figure out who you were from your username. Really appreciate you being here. Oh, goodness. Sometimes I'm at a loss for words. That does happen. There we go, we fixed it. All right, so yes, course versus course, cherry hazelnuts. I absolutely butchered that one. Just goes to show that sometimes very similar English language words confuse me. So, in honor of Boom Muffin, if he's still in the chat, which we do when we have the opportunity, we will jump on someone's funny username and write a poem inspired by it. This is Explosive Breakfast. Letting the dough rise with missile height and dotted with grenades of chocolate, strawberry, and blueberry. Popping in the mouth, lacing the sugar powder with gunpowder, toasting with a match to burst in flavor. That bass note of filament lets in an ignited bright light. Forget sun-kissed eggs or lumping potatoes. Forget hard, coarse cereal bran. This is the Boom Muffin, coursing through the veins like the mind you never knew. Beneath the pop, fingers still there, diving into the mushroom cloud muffin top, iced to delight. Boom Muffin on the show. Now, I hope that made you happy. Our theme today, which is always just kind of a loose word for anybody that might want to say or do or ask anything in the chat, is happiness. Cherry Hazelnut says, forget hard coarse cereal bran. Yes, with an A in course, and most certainly not a happy thing. What I say is cereal bran. If I had to put that in a bucket, there may be some people out there in the world that find joy from cereal bran, but not me. I would not find joy from cereal bran. My favorite breakfast is actually a very cheesy egg omelet. What is everybody's favorite breakfast? What breakfasts in the chat? I love a cheesy omelet. But when I don't do a cheesy omelet, I can have a sleeve of Oreos for breakfast, so I don't recommend it. Thank you very much for Cherry Hazelnuts for the compliment. Really appreciate you all being here. I do take requests in case there's anybody new here that wants to see a poem in action of request. Otherwise, I'm going to get to my Boom Muffin. The man of the hour says, I really appreciate it. Super cool to get poetry done about the moniker I chose. Savory oats, says Kelly Crowley. There we go. That's a good breakfast. And a good way to take a to kind of take a better spin on some of the cereal sides of things. And appreciate it, Boom Muffin, for you coming in and checking out the stream. Cherry Hazelnut says, I like a heavy, salty, meaty breakfast. Yeah, that's right. I forgot. I'm not that much of a bacon guy myself, but my wife is a huge bacon person, and so I'll eat it. And so I'll do this thing where I make like full plates of bacon for us. Like we'll just crack open a package and cook the whole thing. I used to have a problem with burning bacon. Back when I was in Boy Scouts, the fellow boys would not let me down about it. If I burned the bacon, that was it. I wasn't allowed near the food for the rest of the day. So, I've been requested by someone to write a poem about happiness. This individual said that they're working on, they are actually studying happiness, and he's working on a collection of essays about happiness. Was your savory oats, Kelly, was that a topic? Because I can write on savory oats if you want, or I can leave that be if that was just a breakfast suggestion. Now I'm getting hungry. Yeah, I haven't eaten yet. This was actually a bad idea. I'm getting a little hungry now, but that's all right. Oh, we have a do it. We have a commission for savory oats. let's shift over to our typewriter counter. We will go back to the happiness theme. My immediate chat-based requests always take precedence over the commissions that I can do later on. We are in the mission now, Cherry Hazelnuts, of making everybody hungry. We will do probably the happiness poem before the hour's out, though. I think I might be able to fit in. Cherry Hazelnuts' oats are extremely flavored. One of the fantastic benefits of the use of Zoom and Twitch and other things is that there is a mute button for when you sneeze. Sneezes are no longer a thing that you must excuse. There we go. Salt and raisins. Just a bit of sweet, maybe with almonds for crunch. And the great thing about that is that came at a perfect time in a poem when I was starting to run out of steam. I often use the theme of light a little too commonly. We need to get my typewriter emoji stuff set up in this stream, so you guys can typewriter emoji. Alrighty. We will bring down our music as well as switch back to our laptop camera. There we go. The poem is entitled Seed of Flavor. Going with the grain to feed the brain as much as stomach. Love it. Crunch them with nectar, milk, and warm cinnamon, and birth this seed of breakfast. Man does not live off bread alone, but it sure helps. These fibers lining our reclining limbs, holding together both the focus and muscle in one fell scoop. Maybe a nut here or there to crack open the day. Salt to enhance, lift the groundy core out of the husk. Fruit condensed to its pure light of sweetness. There is so much packed into oats. So much, it surprises me that the flowers don't bloom right from the bowl. That is Seed of Flavor. I'll actually be able to show you guys. Hopefully this comes out. Sometimes this doesn't come out right, but this is I can bring my camera back and you guys can see the poem there. Thank you so much. Kelly says nice. For Kelly, Seeds of Flavor, or Seed of Flavor, I should say. We are very breakfast themed, but for this next poem, the final poem for our stream this morning, and we've been very prolific. Usually, I've actually been, Twitcher Alex can attest, I've been much slower over the past couple of streams of poems. Like, I've done 2 poems over the course of an hour. Thank you so much, Kelly. Really appreciate that. But now, I don't know, sometimes the energy changes and you just jump into it and the poems kind of riff right off the typewriter. So, but this next poem, which I need paper for, paper, is going to be about happiness. We're going to take a crack at happiness. Now, I'm thinking that this is going to be an edited poem, but I'm going to write it as if it's not. The commissioner, who, believe it or not, is a member of the Here the Dawn online community family, has not specified whether he wanted an edited or an unedited poem. So I will write an unedited poem about happiness. So going from our very fun, laptop's gonna die, that would be very bad for the stream, wouldn't it? Going from our very light, breakfasty, fluffy, exploding muffins. Exploding muffins sounds like a board game. Exploding kittens or something like that. That sounds funny. And savory oats to an ethereal concept. Now, funny thing about this is I don't usually, I've been trying to, as of late, be less ethereal in my poems. What do I mean by being ethereal? I try to be less philosophical, a lot more concrete. Like Seeds of Flavor is a perfect example because it's a lot of concrete use there. Frankly, my mode of comfort has always been writing very philosophically, because that's just how I love interpreting philosophy through poetry. But this, I get to run with that now, because this guy is actually a philosopher studying happiness. I could choose to use concrete themes, of course, but it's going to be nice to indulge a little bit of myself. Shifting over to the camera. What are your thoughts on happiness? If anybody feels inclined to drop them in the chat. It's very much like David's question in his book Mobius, which, by the way, to promote, Wind City Chess is on the stream. We got a little crowd here, so I want to shout out David, who is Wind City Chess. This is his book. We were celebrating it last night on that collective stream of local writers, and this is incredible. It is not a long read. What it does is it's a meditative read where you could open it up at any place. And what I'm planning on trying to do, David, if you're still in the chat, which I can check and see that you are, if you're listening, my plan is I want to sit one day and I want to read it over and over and over again. I want to get to the end and go back to the beginning, get to the end and go back to the beginning, and really feel the Mobius as it flows through. So just like the question of home, which is what that book's about, the question of happiness is very hard to answer. And so we have Cherry Hazelnuts is taking a whack at it. Happiness is when you suddenly realize you no longer crave that old habit. Happiness is a breath of fresh air. I love those. That's really good. Crave the old habit. Indeed, there's a little bit of a glitch, I think, in a lot of people, where they're chasing happiness instead of being happy. It's even a philosophical issue, because and I just noticed, Wind City Chess, that you're a subscriber. I haven't even been able to keep track on all the subscriptions or not subscriptions and everything. Thank you for subscribing. Goodness, I didn't even see that. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. My understanding of happiness philosophically comes from the philosopher Aristotle, who talked about how happiness is what all people desire. And I love that, personally. I think that's a really beautiful way to go about it. But that's an end product. It's an end to everything. And that's great that it's an end to everything, but that doesn't really say what it is. If I had to start from a point of happiness, for me, happiness is you could get on my case about this afterwards. No, that's a non-definition. I was about to say happiness is the feeling of home. But that, after everything we discussed last night, that's most certainly not an answer to the question. In fact, it uses someone else's answer, so it is not my answer, which is something that David happily points out in the book. Happiness is lightheartedness, is where I'm going to start with. Happiness is when everything doesn't feel heavy. Joy is a little different. It's funny because I've actually made a distinction between happiness and joy. Joy is something that I find is the way to describe the value that continues during hardness and heartbreak and loss and pain. Joy is persistent. Happiness is by necessity fleeting, but that's not a bad thing. Because I don't think we're meant to be always happy. If we were always happy, from the theological side, we'd be in heaven. From the, philosophical side, probably nothing would change. That's kind of where philosophy dives, is pure happiness is an unchanging place, but we are human, and so things change all the time. And so we have happiness and we have sadness. We have all those emotions. But if I had to quantify the happiness emotion, it's the lightheartedness. Ah, Cherry Hazelnut says, I thought they were the other way around. That joy was the elation, the temporary fleeting feeling, and happiness was the deeper thing. For me, I interpret them the other way. That just might be an issue of semantics. Either way, there is definitely true feelings, which might get really into what this is, and I think that the fact that Cherry Hazelnuts, you are opposite to me, shows that that's an important thing for me to think about when writing this poem, is that there is both a I am happy because I must, I should be, I have to be appreciative and thankful and grateful for what I always have. Some say happiness is a choice as well, a state of mind. Very interesting to kind of really dig deep into these questions, and I love that we're digging deeper. Some say happiness is a choice, which means that we can choose happiness, like a state of mind. But if we were able to choose happiness, we choose it all the time. But we don't. So it's interesting, all these different ideas. I think it's time I get to writing. Feel free to continue to toss out ideas. I'll be reading them as I pour through the poem. And by no way does one random poet on Twitch have a monopoly on the idea of happiness. I just write what I am feeling, what I see, what is my interpretation, and we go from there. E-A-R-C-H-I-N-G. Speaking of philosophy, some say that happiness is elusive, and it's contentment that should be the goal. Kelly says. And Kelly is a professor, so we should definitely listen to Kelly. No, I love that. It's funny because now that I think about it, I'm thinking about my readings on Aristotle, and I'm wondering about the title of the poem I just chose and counted out. But it's funny because I'm sure that going from, Greek, basically, probably Greek scrawl to a English textbook has probably had its share of translation issues. And what Aristotle and Plato, by definition too, what they probably meant when they said the word happiness back in BC Greece, they would probably have to explain that a lot, in a lot more terms. And they can't now. They're dead. They're gone. And they are not here, and all we have are kind of the fragments. So, and I mean, I know there's definitely, oh goodness, I'm not as up on my Plato as I am up on my Aristotle. Plato is my jam, says Kelly. Play-Doh. There we go. Allegories of the cave ensue. I'm going to run with what I started because as an artist, I don't have to turn around and give this guy my first write off of the typewriter. This could just be my exploratory phase, for lack of a word. This is a line from a Maz song. Oh, and one of those, the cue is non-song. Speaking of which, I have Spotify. We have technology. We can do this. I gotta go to funk. There we go. If you guys see me counting, it's because I'm trying to do exact placement on the page. I've said this before for people, but in anybody that doesn't know, typewriters are monospaced, which means I could technically pick the center of a page, even though I failed to do that for this title, even though that was the intention. But I can technically pick the center of the page and backspace half of the amount of characters the title would be, and I could center it. I think this is going to have to be a first draft because it's going to take a while for me to really feel settled on this theme. Magic for Dummies, what's up? I still can't get over these usernames on Twitch. We're typing a poem about happiness, Magic for Dummies. Welcome to the stream. This is going to be our last poem of the stream, but if you are interested in one day requesting a poem, which you can do, feel free to follow, and we will, next time you show up, we'll write a poem about your username. I do poems about usernames. They're a lot of fun. What is your thoughts on happiness, Magic for Dummies? Good. Animals deliver the purest form. Boom Muffin, we shall meet again in the Maz. Glad to see you here, and I gotta send you a picture of that poem, or I'll post it to the Discord or something like that. And I gotta let Twitcher Alex know what my schedule is. Animals deliver in the purest form. I think that is one of the best, not to rank answers, but that's one of the best answers I've seen ever. And I know that's the weirdest thing to say, but the fact is animals have no reason to worry. Like, when a dog feels joy... Is my dog here today? No, my dog is not in the room today. My dog does swing by the stream sometimes. I have a 7-year-old Pomeranian. He only feels that joy. Like, he can't feel anything else. But is that truly joy? Because then you're not like, you're not feeling joy despite pain, or awareness of pain, or even memory of pain. He just feels joy. That's a good idea, though. Cherry Hazelnut says, I know some neurotic, miserable dogs. It's true, when an animal, but like, at that point, it's like, yeah, no, I see what you're saying with that too, Cherry Hazelnuts. In the moment that a dog feels joy, it feels nothing else. If I had to say that. Which is why I've written the line about my own soul being invisible, so tucked between instinct and ambition. Instinct is us. Like, just not us, no. Instinct is like the natural, just like the raw, like, food makes me feel good. And ambition is like, well, I want to be more than just food makes me feel good. Like, for me, I've recently been on, I don't want to be drastic about it, but a slight overeating streak, where, like, if I'm getting stressed, I'll pig out some snacks. And it's not a terrible thing, but it most certainly doesn't make me feel happy. Even though I'm satisfying my animal need for food. And sugar. Lots of sugar. I've been pretty good on sugar for the past couple of days. Yeah, so then it becomes a question of happiness found here and now in the moment versus happiness forever. And I do believe, if Win City Chess is still on the stream, that his themes of home and Mobius are kind of similar, that there's a time aspect, and then that time aspect makes everything change. Because you could have happiness for a time, you could have home for a time, but then it changes for that time. Ribbon. If you ever want to see what the inside of the typewriter looks like, I gotta respin the ribbon just a little bit. And we're back. Everything in flux. How fast can one write on the typewriter? That's a fantastic question. I mean, there are really fast typists, but there is a certain limit because you're working mechanically. But it's very up there. I haven't done a typing test in a while. We should do that one day on the stream. But I would assume that one can write about at least 70 or 80 BPM if they're WPM, words per minute, not beats per minute. Sorry, I've been listening to DJs a lot. I would figure that they can write about 70, 80 words per minute if they're, which is, I think, a common type writing speed. Oh, average person types 30. No, I'm thinking professional typists type a lot faster, averaging between 65 and 75. Yeah, I would say that probably a very good typist can type 60 words a minute. And not get them wrong. That's the key. It just takes a lot of practice. I do often use the wandering rhyming scheme. And welcome to the stream, Tower Mine. So the typewriter has a pretty quick action to it. Not always. So here, you can, let me bring this back. I mean, Chicago typewriter for the win. Chicago typewriter. Is that one of the typewriter shops in Chicago? Writing it down. So here. The action on these typewriters is really quick. Like you may not even seen it. The reason why it's really quick is because there are springs tucked in here that the moment that the type bar hits the paper, it immediately pulls back. So not always, but sometimes the keys do get caught up in here, and then if that happens, and people have seen me do it on the stream, then I just got to kind of go in here and pull them down and oh, that's right, the Chicago typewriter. It was that's the oh goodness, it's the gun with the it's the gun with the drum thing. I forgot what it's called, the actual official name of it, but yes, that was they called it the Chicago typewriter because of all the gangsters and how it was the Thompson. It was the Thompson gun. Yes, indeed. There's actually a guy that I know that started a Chicago typewriter company. Let me see if I can bring up his Instagram. Actually, I could bring up his Instagram on the screen since we have technology and that's something I can do. No. I thought that, what was his company? Oh. Goodness, I'm trying to remember this guy's company. No, I thought that there was, Give me a second. I can find his stuff. He definitely has it tagged somewhere. That's it. There we go. Here we go. You said Chicago typewriter, and I immediately thought of this guy. If you want to check out a really cool typewriter dude, this right here is Chicago typewriter, or Typewriter Chicago. Making sure that my screen is showing properly. Look at this. Look at these. This is a typewriter repair tech in Chicago. So that's what made me think of when you said Chicago Typewriter Company. It's this guy. Get yourself a nice, beautiful Underwood. These things are always frozen. They're hard machines. And one of the most interesting machines in the world is this one. This is a Williams. The Williams, the way it types, oh, that's not a Williams, that's something else, is these type bars lift up and they smack down on the center of the paper right here. And then they lift up, and they lift up, and they lift up, and they go back and forth. There's a really cool video of these typing, but I'm now getting into major ADHD territory here because I have a poem on the typewriter. So, but definitely check him out. I'll put his handle in the chat. Go and follow him, and he will sell you a typewriter too. His stuff is going to be expensive because he spent a lot of time refurbishing it. By the way, spoiler alert, I plan on selling typewriters at a certain point, or renting them at least, having them be able to be rented out. I'm currently working on repairing 2 machines, and I have like 4 more I gotta fix, and those will actually be able to be used in the public. So it's exciting. I'm out of lines on this page. Like, I have only 1 line to close this poem out. This became a poem about longing. This is not a poem about happiness. Well, it might be a poem about happiness. Is happiness longing? Typewriters made an interesting sound. Am I looking forward to 2021? Yes, I am looking forward to 2021. As I mentioned, we had a group of writers, local writers in Winchester, Virginia, where I'm from. We all went on Zoom and we were talking yesterday. I've recently got into doing wedding poetry, which is a great way to be able to do creative writing and business at the same time. And so my hope is that that'll be self-sustaining in a lot of ways. Weddings are currently not happening. They were happening in Virginia, now they're not. So it's a bit of it's a tough thing. So, but it's very good that we are going to be getting through this and all on the other side of this. Alright, let's bring down... Alright. So, happiness. I may or may not have hit it on this one. Searching for a feeling. If I could choose, I would choose sunrise over sunset, together over loneliness, happiness over everything else, the lifting of my heart from the ground, the ending of yearning for everything, my idea of heaven, your idea of love. I am but the reach of my arm from my face. I want to send energy, care, love, vibes across the invisible distance, between the names on the screen and my own soul. Invisible, so tucked between instinct and ambition. I watch the clock when the day begins, count the moments of the solar arc when things are going right. Remind myself to listen and hold presence among the distractions of the day. The question gnawing below me. Why am I not happy? Such I beg. Such I wander, such is all wonder when we are blessed with the self-aware wildness of the mind. I like it. I hope you guys do too. You don't have to. It's perfectly fine. It's a poem. Because I think that I clinched it in the end, but like for me, it might not be for both the commissioner as well as for anybody else, that really, like the funny thing about animals that Magic for Dummies mentioned is that when we were given, became, developed, whatever it was, the gift of self-awareness, the gift of being able to know ourselves, pure happiness was out, was gone. We could no longer just have the feeling like the dog sitting there not knowing why he feels what he feels. That's the key with the dog. The dog doesn't know why he feels what he feels. He just feels hunger. He just feels full. He just feels belly rub. But we know why we feel what we feel, and suddenly it's turtles all the way down, because then you know why you feel what you feel, then you feel why do you feel what you feel about feeling, and then why and why and why. It just goes. It goes. And having to remind myself to listen. Like I've had to do this to myself, to remind myself to pay attention. And it doesn't make it desperate. It doesn't make it a loss. It just makes it... that happiness is kind of like this, I'm just imagining like, you'll know, it's like a 3-story chess game. I don't know if you've ever seen any of these, but there are chess boards where you can split the pieces among 3 different levels. And so, like for me and for other people that play chess, chess is it's a very simple game, but also very complicated, but it's on one board. But imagine if we took that complicatedness and we staggered it, and the heights were enormous. That's what chasing happiness is like. Because you could have something going on level 2, but then level 4 kind of kicks in, and then level 3. And I'm not saying that it's all a metaphor, so the metaphor has its limits, but really what that all is summarized by is the self-aware wildness of the mind, is that happiness is no longer a simple thing. And I love what we have in the chat, and I really appreciate the answers. And I think that the point is that happiness is no longer a simple thing. It might not come out as well in the poem, but at least I've hit the theme. Thank you again so much, everybody, for tuning in. We had a wonderful crowd here. We had KLC, PhD, Kelly with a PhD. We had, Boom Muffin, of course, who got his own poem. If you, at least most of once a day, I will write a poem about funny usernames. So speaking of funny usernames, we had Magic for Dummies, and we had Tower Mind also pop into the chat. We talked a little bit about the Thompson gun and the Typewriter Chicago Company. Cherry Hazelnuts, really appreciate you stopping in. David, Win City Chess, always a pleasure, as well as... Twitch hero Alex, the one, the only, what a guy. Really appreciate everybody here. And if you like anything that you've seen, you want to get paper copies of anything you've seen, you're going to see my email on the splash screen after we finish up. I'm thinking, do we raid? No, I'm not going to do a raid. And Really appreciate everybody's input, the chat, the energy. This morning was wonderful. It was wonderful to write, wonderful to feel alive and happy with you all, whatever that is. So we are. I'm gonna, and you can always follow me also here. There it is. At Walking Wall Poet on Instagram. That's the biggest space where I actually do anything. And you can also follow me here if you want to see more poems. If you want to have a nice, if you're on the East Coast of U.S., early morning start. If you're anywhere else in the world, probably afternoon, evening of just poetry and words and art. So I do this Monday to Saturday, 7 a.m. and usually runs to about 8. We ran a little long today because 3 poems, and really glad to do that. And thank you again so much, everybody, for tuning in. I'll see you tomorrow.